It started with a photograph that broke the internet. A traveler passing through a highway rest stop in Connecticut, one of those sprawling travel plazas where Subway, Dunkin', and a dozen other chains compete for your attention, stopped dead in their tracks at the McDonald's counter. They weren't shocked by the food. They were shocked by the price. A Big Mac meal, nearly $18. Instead of ordering, they pulled out their phone, snapped a photo, posted it to Twitter with a simple question: when did this happen? The response was immediate and overwhelming. The image went viral within hours. It sparked thousands of conversations across every social media platform. Major news outlets picked it up. The story grew so large that McDonald's corporate headquarters felt compelled to respond, releasing an official statement accompanied by carefully crafted graphics designed to contextualize their pricing strategy. But the damage was done. Because that $18 burger wasn't just a story about one expensive meal at one rest stop in Connecticut. It felt like proof of something Americans had been experiencing for years but couldn't quite articulate. That the cheap, convenient dining options they'd relied on for decades were no longer cheap. That fast food, the great American affordable meal, had fundamentally changed. What makes this story fascinating from a business perspective? They were right. But the story of how we got here starts in a completely unexpected place, with a strategic pivot that had nothing to do with ingredient costs or labor wages. A transformation that began not in the kitchen, but in the data centers and boardrooms where fast food's future was being redesigned from the ground up. What happened next didn't just change how much you pay. It changed what fast food companies actually want you to buy, how they want you to buy it, and why some of the items you think they're selling you, items plastered on every advertisement, they're actually hoping you'll never order at all. The economics behind your burger have been completely rewired, and once you see how it works, you'll never look at a drive-thru menu the same way again. Here's what we're going to cover: why the cost explanations you've heard are dangerously incomplete, how two burger joints across a highway from each other reveal the truth about pricing strategy, and the data-driven transformation that turned your ordering screen into a psychological extraction machine. Stay until the end, because what these companies are testing right now is something most customers haven't even noticed yet. The foundation starts with data that proves this isn't just anecdotal frustration. Over the past decade, food prices overall have been rising faster than the general consumer price index, that broad measure of inflation across all goods and services that Americans buy. But within the category of food, there's a split. Food consumed at home versus food consumed away from home. And food away from home has been climbing even faster. Now here's where it gets interesting from a business analysis perspective. Within that food away from home category, limited service restaurants, the industry term for fast food and fast casual chains, have seen price increases that outpace even traditional sit-down restaurants. Fast food isn't just reflecting broader economic pressures. It's leading the price increases. It's running ahead of the pack. When that $18 Big Mac meal sparked national outrage, the explanations came quickly. Industry insiders and corporate spokespeople pointed to factors legitimately outside their control. Labor costs had surged, especially after the pandemic. California had just passed legislation hiking minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour. Retail ground beef prices had climbed significantly across the decade. Supply chain costs for everything from paper wrapping to cardboard packaging had shot upward due to trade wars, tariffs, and pandemic-era disruptions. The narrative was straightforward. Fast food chains were simply passing unavoidable cost increases onto customers. They had no choice. That explanation is partially true. Those cost pressures are real, but it's incomplete. dangerously incomplete if you're trying to understand the actual business transformation happening inside this industry. Because pricing isn't just a passive reflection of costs and constraints. Pricing is strategy. Pricing is a tool. Pricing is one of the most powerful weapons in a corporation's arsenal for reshaping consumer behavior and maximizing profitability. Fast food isn't getting more expensive solely because of factors beyond the industry's control. It's getting more expensive because the business model of fast food is being fundamentally restructured in real time. And to understand how, we need to look at two burger restaurants sitting across the highway from each other in Burbank, California. One represents the cutting edge of fast food's transformation. The other is an industry outlier that has stubbornly refused to change. And the contrast between them reveals everything you need to know about where this industry is headed. But this comparison isn't just about burgers and buns, because what In-N-Out proves and what McDonald's discovered through data science exposes a strategic choice that most customers never realize they're being subjected to. On either side of Interstate 5 in Burbank sit two burger joints, a McDonald's and an In-N-Out burger. Walk into both locations and order their signature double patty burgers. At In-N-Out, a double-double will cost you $6.10. At McDonald's, a Big Mac runs $6.49. Similar products at similar prices. That's where the similarities end. Because these two companies operate according to completely different business philosophies. Their strategies are so divergent that In-N-Out desperately wants you to buy their double-double burger, while McDonald's, and this is critical to understanding everything that follows, actively hopes you don't buy just the Big Mac. In-N-Out first, because it represents something increasingly rare in American fast food, a company optimizing for product quality and operational consistency above nearly everything else. The double-double is objectively a superior product, not a matter of taste, though customer preference surveys consistently favor it, but a matter of verifiable ingredient quality and preparation standards. Every ingredient that goes into that burger has never been frozen. The beef was processed at one of In-N-Out's two company-owned facilities, both located within a day's drive of any restaurant location, ensuring freshness. The buns come from a bakery supplier that In-N-Out has contracted with since the 1950s. Decades-long relationships ensuring consistent quality. That quality control extends through the entire preparation process. Every In-N-Out location is laid out in an almost identical manner. Staff training is rigorous and standardized. The expectation is that you'll receive the same cheerful service and precisely prepared burger whether you're in Burbank or Sacramento. This shows up in the data. Compare Google review ratings between the Burbank In-N-Out and the Burbank McDonald's locations. Check annual customer satisfaction surveys across the industry. In-N-Out consistently wins. And it has to win because exceptional customer experience is core to their entire business strategy. Here's why that matters. An In-N-Out location requires a lot of staff to operate. Where a McDonald's might run a slow shift with 5 to 10 employees, an In-N-Out staffs 10 to 15 even during off-peak hours. During lunch and dinner rushes, that number regularly swells to 25 people working simultaneously. And those employees earn significantly more than industry standard. The Burbank location starts workers at $22 per hour with benefits and clear advancement opportunities. Industry-leading compensation. So you have more employees, paid better wages, producing a comparatively inexpensive product with higher ingredient costs. How does In-N-Out make money? Volume and vertical integration. In-N-Out owns its real estate rather than leasing. It operates its own meat processing facilities and trucking fleet. It sources everything from pink lemonade to paper products from the same suppliers it's worked with for decades, leveraging those long-term relationships for favorable pricing. But even with those savings, to profit on a menu built around $5 and $6 burgers, each location needs to sell an enormous amount of food. And they do. Because of the product quality and consistency, In-N-Out customers will gladly wait in drive-through lines that stretch 20 minutes. They'll stand inside for several minutes without the convenience of ordering ahead through an app. That loyalty translates directly to revenue. An average In-N-Out location generates approximately $6 million in annual revenue. An average McDonald's location in the United States generates about $4 million. Even more impressive, In-N-Out pulls in 33% more revenue in 15% less time. Their locations operate an average of 14.5 hours per day compared to McDonald's 17 hours. In-N-Out feels like what fast food was supposed to be. Family-owned, consistent, clean, simple. A business model from the 1950s, preserved and perfected, and that's exactly why it's so unique and so small. In California alone, there are only 289 In-N-Out locations compared to over 1,200 McDonald's. Just within Burbank, McDonald's outnumbers In-N-Out 4-1. Nationally, In-N-Out barely registers compared to the major chains. In every measurable trend reshaping modern fast food, In-N-Out is an anomaly. But here's why this matters for understanding the pricing crisis. The very fact that In-N-Out competes successfully with massive chains on price while delivering equal or superior quality proves that pricing is a choice. It's strategic. It's not simply something forced upon the industry by unavoidable external pressures. McDonald's operates 14,000 locations just in the United States. Only 5% are corporate-owned. The rest are franchises. With that structure, McDonald's simply cannot maximize consistency or quality control the way In-N-Out does. But more importantly, they're not incentivized to try. Because starting in the mid-2010s, McDonald's began a transformation that would eventually shoot prices through the roof. And it started with a seemingly simple menu change that most customers didn't recognize as the opening move in a complete business model overhaul. By the early 2010s, McDonald's was in trouble. Year-over-year same-store sales across U.S. locations were either stagnating or declining. Fast casual competitors like Chipotle and Panera were eating into their market share, attracting customers willing to pay slightly more for perceived higher quality. In 2015, under new CEO Steve Easterbrook, McDonald's announced its intention to become what he called a modern, progressive burger company. That meant higher quality chicken, fresher beef, more data-driven decision-making, and a more capable mobile app. The first major visible change was all-day breakfast. Customers had been requesting it for years through surveys and focus groups. But leadership had legitimate concerns. Would it require expensive kitchen remodels? Would breakfast items cannibalize lunch and dinner sales? Would the operational complexity slow service? Rather than make the decision based on instinct, they modeled it using data science. McDonald's partnered with a tech company called Applied Predictive Technologies. They ran regional trials. They collected granular receipt data through a research firm called the NPD Group. They analyzed thousands of transactions to understand actual customer behavior rather than stated preferences. The data revealed something unexpected. All-day breakfast brought back lapsed customers who'd stopped visiting McDonald's. But more importantly, midday diners showed a tendency to add breakfast items like McMuffins or hash browns to their lunch orders. Average ticket sizes increased, Armed with that data, McDonald's pushed franchisees to remodel kitchens and implement all-day breakfast nationwide. The results contributed to a significant turnaround in company performance. But the real significance of all-day breakfast wasn't the menu expansion itself. It was the methodology. McDonald's had discovered the power of big data and predictive analytics to optimize business decisions. It was just the beginning of the transformation. And this is where the economics get truly bizarre, because what happened next changed not just what McDonald's sells, but what it wants to sell. And those are two very different things. Imagine 3 transactions happening simultaneously across the United States. One customer orders a Big Mac meal in Aztec, New Mexico. Another orders the identical meal in Newcastle, Colorado. A third orders it in Burbank, California. The prices differ between the 3 locations. Those differences reflect factors McDonald's corporate doesn't directly control: local labor costs, real estate expenses, decisions made by independent franchise owners who set their own pricing within certain parameters. But now notice something else about these 3 transactions. 2 happen at self-service kiosks inside the restaurants. 1 happens through a phone screen via the McDonald's mobile app. And suddenly, McDonald's greatest tool for business optimization comes into focus. For decades, industry insiders used to say that McDonald's isn't really a restaurant company. It's a real estate company that happens to sell hamburgers. The corporation owns much of the land underneath franchise locations and collects rent as a core income stream. That observation remains true. But over the past decade, McDonald's and every major competitor have quietly become something else as well: technology companies. The turn toward technology allowed McDonald's to address what all-day breakfast had hinted was their greatest weakness: convenience. Customers wanted shorter wait times, faster ordering, the ability to order ahead and skip lines entirely. The solution was screens, lots of screens, everywhere. In 2019, McDonald's made its largest acquisition in 20 years, a company called Dynamic Yield that specializes in using customer data to optimize and personalize digital experiences. That single acquisition fundamentally altered how McDonald's thinks about the ordering process. Here's why that matters. Back to that Big Mac. In reality, regardless of its price, a Big Mac is either a loss leader or generates only a tiny profit margin for a McDonald's location. If you ordered one in the past, standing at the counter or sitting in the drive-thru, you'd face a physical menu board covered with posters and banners promoting new products, drinks, value meals, and limited-time offers. When you ordered your sandwich, the employee would ask if you'd like to turn it into a meal. Because French fries, and especially fountain drinks, carry far better profit margins than burgers. Soft drinks in particular are almost pure profit. Syrup and carbonated water cost pennies per serving. McDonald's had decades of experience using psychological pricing strategies to push customers toward higher margin items. Meal pricing used decoy effects, making the large meal feel so similarly priced to the medium that customers perceived the large as better value and upgraded. If you left with just a sandwich, that was a loss for the location. If you left with a sandwich, fries, drink, and maybe an apple pie or cookies, that was a win. The digital transformation took these techniques and supercharged them with personalization and data analytics. Today, digital menus, mobile apps, and even drive-through ordering boards can be dynamically customized based on real-time data, user history, weather conditions, time of day, and predictive modeling about what you're likely to purchase. What this looks like in practice is subtle but psychologically powerful. If you pull up to a McDonald's drive-thru today, you're no longer looking at a comprehensive menu listing every available item with prices. Those days are gone. Instead, you see a curated selection. At many locations, The only items displayed with prices are meal bundles, extra value meals, promotional combo deals. If you want to order just a Big Mac without the meal, you have to ask. If you want to know the exact price before committing, you have to ask for that too. You can still order anything on the full menu, but the curated display passively nudges your order toward what the company wants to sell, the higher margin bundles. This curation works in multiple directions. The company actively promotes items it predicts will be popular based on data. If it's a hot day, the screens might push ice cream and cold beverages. If breakfast sandwich sales are trending unusually high that morning, those get prominent placement. The curated menus also serve an operational purpose. They keep lines moving faster. A massive menu board listing every possible configuration slows ordering during rush hours as customers process too many options. Simplification increases throughput. If you want to see the full menu with all options and prices, you need to use the in-store kiosks or the mobile app. But accessing those comes with a request. Share your data. When you approach a kiosk, it asks you to log into your McDonald's account. Then it asks again on a subsequent screen. The company really wants you logged in because your location data and order history are enormously valuable for optimization. Once logged in, you have to navigate around prominently displayed headline items. New products like refresher beverages, premium limited-time offerings like specialty burgers with better profit margins, to find the basic items you came for. The mobile app is less aggressive about login requests because once you're in, you stay logged in, and the app incentivizes continued use through point accumulation and personalized promotions. Free item on your birthday. Free medium fries with any purchase for a limited time. These offers create bi-directional loyalty while allowing McDonald's to track your preferences and spending patterns with precision. If you consistently order Big Macs when they're priced at $6.10, but you stop ordering when the price increases to $6.49, or worse, you stop visiting McDonald's entirely, that's extraordinarily valuable information. The company can see that signal across millions of customers and adjust strategy accordingly. While changing the actual product or reformulating recipes requires massive coordination across thousands of franchise locations, screens and data analytics allow McDonald's to alter prices and promotional offerings continuously, testing and optimizing to find the precise price point that customers will tolerate. Where in and out optimizes through control of physical operations, ingredients, preparation, staffing, the major chains optimize through the digital layer. After the $18 Big Mac controversy went viral, investors raised concerns about pricing strategy during a McDonald's earnings call. The company was losing lower-income customers. The perceived value of their products relative to price was declining. Customer surveys showed growing resentment. McDonald's responded with a major value push. First came the $5 meal deal launched in mid-2024. Then the McValue menu the following year. Both span breakfast and lunch options. Both have shown positive impact on traffic and sales metrics. And yet, if you visit that McDonald's location in Darien, Connecticut where the viral photo was taken, a Big Mac meal still costs nearly $18. Because the word perceived in perceived value is doing tremendous work in McDonald's business strategy. The company isn't in the business of quality food exactly. It's not even in the business of cheap food anymore. It's in the business of convenient food at a psychologically acceptable price point. That's why the mobile app development received such massive investment. It's why drive-through menu boards were redesigned to display less information while processing orders faster. The company needs to provide products at pace, quickly, efficiently, frictionlessly. More precisely, it needs to provide multiple products at pace. It needs to be a place where you can grab lunch, a coffee drink, and a bag of ice simultaneously. A one-stop convenience solution. But customers will only accept that convenience proposition if they believe they're not being ripped off for a fairly unremarkable product. So McDonald's continuously analyzes data, adjusts prices by market, tinkers with value menu offerings every few months to find the precise price ceiling that customers will tolerate before they rebel or switch to competitors. Consider a recent example. McDonald's launched its own line of refresher beverages, fruit-flavored iced drinks competing directly with Starbucks and Dunkin'. The company is pushing these products aggressively through app notifications, drive-through menu prominence, and promotional pricing. These drinks carry high profit margins. They're mostly ice, water, and flavored syrup, but they also serve a strategic purpose: shifting customer habits. Instead of stopping at Starbucks for a cold beverage, customers might use the McDonald's app to order a refresher along with a food item that Starbucks can't provide. At $3.69 to $4.69, these drinks aren't cheap, but they're comparatively cheaper than Starbucks, Dutch Bros, or Sonic. They're just cheap enough, McDonald's hopes, that customers will perceive decent value while benefiting from the convenience of combining beverage and food in one stop. Over time, that could shift afternoon beverage routines away from coffee-focused competitors and toward McDonald's. This technological transformation extends far beyond McDonald's. Taco Bell, owned by publicly traded Yum! Brands, implemented a bifurcated menu strategy with extreme value items on one end and premium bundles on the other, all pushed through app-based ordering and loyalty programs. Virtually every fast and fast casual chain, from Jimmy John's to Panera Bread to Chipotle, now operates sophisticated mobile apps with digital loyalty programs that collect customer data and enable personalized marketing. Wendy's found itself in public relations trouble when it announced digital menu boards capable of changing prices throughout the day based on demand. Customers immediately labeled it surge pricing. The backlash was swift and intense, forcing Wendy's to walk back the announcement and clarify that they weren't implementing the controversial practice. None of the major chains want to be associated with dynamic pricing, given how much consumer distrust that term generates. The comparison to Uber's surge pricing carries deeply negative connotations. But here's what's critical to understand. The technology already exists. The data collection infrastructure is in place. The predictive analytics capabilities are operational, and already, at just about every major chain, prices do change, not over the course of a single day, but every few months. Value menu configurations shift. Promotional offers rotate. Regional pricing adjusts based on performance data. It may seem too far a reach right now for prices to fluctuate by the hour or even by individual customer, but it would fit perfectly with the larger optimization and efficiency transformation that fast food has embraced over the past decade. Customers have come to accept steadily rising costs. Perhaps, if implemented slowly and quietly enough, they'll come to accept dynamic pricing too. Step back and look at what's actually happened here from a business model perspective. Fast food built its dominance in American culture on a specific value proposition: cheap, consistent, fast. Those three attributes formed the foundation. Families could feed everyone for $10 or $15. You knew exactly what you were getting, whether you ordered in Miami or Minneapolis, and you could be in and out in minutes. Over the past decade, that value proposition has been fundamentally rewritten. The fast component has been preserved and even enhanced through app-based ordering and streamlined drive-through systems. But it's been preserved specifically to enable a different strategic objective: not feeding you quickly and cheaply, but moving you through the ordering process efficiently while maximizing the dollar value extracted per transaction. The consistent component has fractured. In and out demonstrates that consistency is achievable at scale, but it requires operational control and vertical integration that franchise chains no longer prioritize. For McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, consistency now means consistent branding and marketing rather than consistent product quality or store experience. And cheap has been almost entirely abandoned at the corporate strategy level, preserved only as a perception management problem to be solved through data analytics and carefully crafted value messaging. The $18 Big Mac meal wasn't an aberration or a pricing mistake. It was the logical endpoint of a business transformation that prioritizes margin optimization over affordability. When McDonald's responded to the viral controversy by launching $5 meal deals and value menus, that wasn't a return to the old model. It was a tactical response to a perceived value crisis, a recognition that prices had pushed beyond what customers would psychologically tolerate, threatening traffic and revenue. The value menu becomes a tool to anchor perception, to provide evidence that affordable options still exist, even while the majority of transactions trend toward higher margin items promoted through digital channels. What we're witnessing is the maturation of fast food from a product-centric industry into a data-driven, technology-mediated optimization machine. The food is almost secondary. What matters is the ability to collect customer information, analyze behavior patterns, predict purchasing decisions, and design systems. Digital menus, app interfaces, promotional offers that guide customers toward maximum spending. In and out represents the road not taken, a business model that optimizes for product quality and customer loyalty through traditional operational excellence. It works, but it doesn't scale the way investor-driven publicly traded corporations need it to scale. It doesn't generate the profit margins that satisfy Wall Street expectations. The major chains have chosen a different path. They've chosen to treat customers not as people to feed affordably, but as data points to optimize. And the technology now exists to optimize with extraordinary precision. Can that model sustain itself long-term? That's the billion-dollar question. There's some evidence that customers are reaching a breaking point. Traffic at major fast food chains has declined among lower-income demographics who can no longer afford what used to be the cheapest dining option. Some customers are switching to grocery store prepared food sections or cooking at home more frequently. But there's also evidence that the optimization model is working exactly as designed. Despite widespread complaints about prices, McDonald's and its competitors continue generating enormous revenue. When value offerings are strategically deployed, traffic rebounds. Customers complain, but ultimately return. The industry has discovered something that many sectors learn eventually. If you control enough of the market and your competitors follow similar strategies, customers have limited alternatives. They'll adjust their perception of normal prices upward. They'll grumble but adapt. Fast food got expensive not because costs forced it to, but because the companies discovered they could make it expensive and customers would keep coming. The digital transformation provided the tools to test exactly how expensive, to find the ceiling, to push just up to the edge of customer tolerance and then pull back slightly with value offers that feel like deals even when they're not particularly cheap by historical standards. That $18 Big Mac meal in Connecticut? It was price discovery, testing the absolute limit. And when the backlash came, the company didn't lower prices significantly. They just added value offerings elsewhere in the menu to create the perception of affordability. This is the new model, and it's spreading. Every industry that can digitize customer interaction is moving toward personalized, dynamic data-optimized pricing. Airlines perfected it decades ago. Hotels followed. Ride-sharing made it visible and controversial. Entertainment subscriptions are experimenting with it. Fast food is simply the latest sector to discover that technology enables a fundamental restructuring of the relationship between seller and buyer. That pricing isn't about costs anymore. It's about psychology, data, and the systematic exploitation of human behavioral patterns. Whether you find that brilliant or dystopian probably depends on which side of the transaction you're on. But either way, the next time you're sitting in a drive-thru looking at a curated menu board, or scrolling through a mobile app with personalized offers, or facing a kiosk that keeps suggesting add-ons and upgrades, understand that every element has been designed, tested, and optimized to extract maximum revenue from your visit. The burger is just the excuse to get you in the door. What they're really selling is a data-driven psychological engineering system that happens to distribute food as a byproduct. And that system has decided that $18 for a Big Mac meal is exactly what some markets will bear. Not because it costs $18 to produce, but because the data says someone will pay it. That's why fast food got so expensive, not because it had to, because it could. Watch what happens the next time you open a fast food app on a hot afternoon versus a cold morning. Watch which items get pushed to you versus your neighbor. The personalization is already happening, and every interaction is teaching the algorithm exactly how much you're willing to pay before you walk away.